part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
The 1-1 pitch. A swing and a drive to deep right. Away back. Goal!
And with that hammy call, it is time for another episode of A Swing and a Tribe podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I am your host, Mike Voorhees, and alongside me, as always, B Spills, Brent Spillin. What is going on, my man?
Good to see you once again, Mike. It has been a little bit, and this Cleveland Indians season and era is over. Cannot believe it's already here. 162 games done. Playoff appearances, 0. Sorry. Anyways, I'm doing all right, man. Hey, I'm doing all right. What about yourself? How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, a little sad that the Indian season has come to an end. I'm happy that the Yankees got eliminated last night by the Boston Red Sox. So that
that was nice.
That always makes me happy. I still have to choose what team I'm going to root for in the postseason.
Are you going to root for the White Sox?
No. I usually don't root for somebody in our division. I like Tampa Bay. I like Milwaukee a lot because they're kind of a small market like we are. St. Louis wouldn't be a bad option. And then I do kind of like the San Francisco Giants. I'm not going to lie. So I just have to figure it out once tonight's game's over, whether the Dodgers or the Cardinals advance, and then I'll pick my team and I'll watch some baseball because it's what I do.
All right. Sounds like
wish it was the Indians, but
yeah, I guess we're done talking about Indians and you're getting right into MLB playoffs here.
Well, I'm a baseball guy, so I will follow it to the end, and I root for the sport. So yes, I'm sad that the Indian season's over. We finished 80-82, Brent, 2 games under 500, 13 games back in the division behind those Chicago White Sox. And in the wild card, we only finished 12 games out. So about where we were when we last recorded. They really didn't gain any ground and they didn't lose any ground. But we know that their season this year was absolutely ravaged by injuries to our pitching staff, to our catcher, to the outfield, to I think everybody on our team was injured at least once.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, not winning the division, but we did so well these last handful of years, and I mean, it's weird also not making the wild card, but like you said, man, the injuries were unreal. It wasn't just injuries; it was like our top starters. It was not just pitching. But just like our best players were injured. I mean, started with our top 3 starting pitchers for a while, and then Franmil, our second best hitter, was out for how long? A month, 6 weeks?
It was like a month and a half, I think. Yeah, it was a while.
And just obviously starting with the payroll so low. I mean, we obviously can't sit here at the end of the season and be surprised, because if we roll our tape back from our very first or our season preview episode, we expected this. I mean, we expected that. So actually, I feel like they almost overachieved in a sense, because we expected it with full starting pitching. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
I'm so glad, Brent, that you brought up our season preview show, because if you remember, what did we say the Indians' record would be? Do you remember what you said?
I believe I was 1 game over 500.
Okay. Do you remember what I said?
Like 100 wins, World Series.
No, not this year. I said 2 games under 500.
Oh.
And no postseason berth.
You nailed it.
And I have to say I nailed it. I'm pretty proud of myself. I don't like that I was right, but I nailed it.
I forgot to check. Was I 1 over? Did I say 1 over?
I think you were 1 or 2 over 500. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought, oh yeah. Hold on. We completely forgot. Tito wasn't there.
No, we lost our manager. That. Yeah. It's our starting catcher. I mean, we could go on and give you this laundry list of everybody that was hurt. I think Jose was gone for some games. Like, everybody had their their stay on the injured list, and it crushed this team. And it kind of deflated the city a little bit. We're used to a very competitive team. And like you said, I think this is the first time since
Tito took over.
And this is the first, I think since
2013, I think
12 or 13
12 or 13,
haven't made the postseason.
No, not postseason, but under 500.
Yeah. And it's been a while since we haven't made the postseason.
Yeah.
But this is something we're going to have to get used to, because until this team can stay healthy and until they spend a little bit of money and get some quality pitchers and hitters, but we can talk about that towards the end of the episode when we talk about our offseason a little bit. But man, oh man, where do we begin, Brent? The Indians, didn't fill anybody's expectations. I think everybody thought we would do well, and then our team gets crushed with injuries and just kind of stinks, right? It's not fun.
I mean, especially looking back now, like I said, we shouldn't be surprised. It doesn't mean you can't be upset about it, because we both thought this. I mean, you obviously hit the exact record, but looking back and thinking like, man, what would this team have been just with those pitchers healthy?
Yeah.
And like Tito, I mean, Tito isn't just this guy. He isn't just this manager. He's a Hall of Fame manager who would have made a bunch of different decisions throughout all those games that we missed and a lot that we lost. And who knows? He would have saved us wins. Like is there a war, for like managers? There should be.
There should be. I agree.
They have it for players, because he definitely, isn't really replaceable.
And let's look at the fact that we had so many minor league players called up and pressed into action after most of them missed a full year last year because of COVID. And shout out to all the guys that came up: Eli Morgan, Juan Carlos Mejia, Ernie Clement. I mean, the list goes on. Guys that stepped up and did what they could. Bobby Bradley, when he didn't win the first base job out of spring like he should have. But he came up and did what he could, although he didn't really hit well. He hit okay, but it just leaves the Indians with a lot of decisions to make in the offseason, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, and some of these young guys coming up, or like the Harold Ramirez, the great free agent. Fine,
but I just wish his defense was a little bit better.
Yeah, defensively, his team struggled.
He's like a DH, man. I mean, that's kind of what I see him as. But when our outfield was what it was, I mean, it happens. But guys like Bradley Zimmer impressed down the stretch. And the thing I thought was funny with him is how about him hitting a home run off of his brother? That was great.
That's awesome. That's gonna be at every dinner table they're at together for the rest of their lives talking about that one.
Bragging rights for a while. That's kind of cool. But he shocked everybody. He was able to stay healthy, and he actually contributed both on defense and offense. I mean, Miles Straw, what a phenomenal acquisition he was.
Yeah.
He gives us a center fielder for the future and a leadoff hitter.
He might be the only. I guess we'll talk about it later. I don't want to get into it now, talking about next season. But,
right.
Hey,
look at it.
Oh, how about this player? He was so terrible. I don't even know if I want him back. His name's Jose Ramirez.
Oh my goodness. Awful. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to watch Jose finish in the top 5 for the American League MVP. I mean, he finished the year hitting 266, 36 home runs. He is the cornerstone of this team behind Shane Bieber. Bieber and him, they need to lock them up long-term. Will they? Who knows?
That'll be a big, focus on the offseason, talking about those two guys, trying to get them locked up. Because I think Jose's got his gear, just option now, team options left. I think he has 2.
I think he's got 1. He's got arbitration, and then he's got 1 more.
No, it's not. He's not arbitration. I think it's just 2.
He's not arbitration? I thought he was.
No, he's been here for a while. I think he's got 2 team option years. He built in when he did that.
Well, that's fine. So he'll be here with at least 1,
2.
And then
or 1.5.
1.5, and then they might trade him.
I don't want to talk. I don't even want to talk about that. I don't even want to think about it. Speaking of Jose,
but I will say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on. I will say this real quick. How about shout out to the Indians front office for winning the Francisco Lindor trade? I think we can finally go on record and say it. Ahmed Rosario was fantastic. Andres Jimenez is showing the potential that he could be that guy, and Frankie just in New York, like, couldn't get it done. So maybe the Indians knew what they were doing when they made this trade, and there's still two other guys that we don't know in Josh Wolf and Isaiah Green. I mean, we'll get to see those guys at some point, but hey, trust the front office, trust Tito. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, he was, man, Ahmed Raza hit over 280. I can't,
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say we won the trade yet. I mean, it's been one season,
We won the trade.
I don't think we lost it for sure. I'll tell you that, for the amount of money that he's making. And check out this,
Right.
the Mets, their record 77-85.
Hey, congratulations, New York. Have
Oh
fun.
man.
And the Yankees got beat. Oh, what a great day to be a New York fan, man. I'm telling
Tell you
you,
what.
that's great.
Yeah. Hey, I want to jump back to Jose real quick. We were just talking
Yeah,
about him.
absolutely. Do it.
It's so
Yeah.
funny. Do you ever see this on Twitter? Zach Meisel's like Jose Ramirez like helmet counter.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. I look
So
forward
this
to
is
it.
one of his from like after the last game when he was actually talking to Jose about this. So I just want to read this real quick. This is from Zach Meisel, the Athletic. He goes, I asked Jose Ramirez today to guess how many times he's lost his helmet this year. And then Jose says, I'm not sure, but I think there's a guy out there. Keep counting of how many times it's happened. He guessed like 60 to 70. And the final counter was 79.
Wow.
79 times his helmet goes flying off his head when he's rounding the bases. I guess Zach Meyer says it destroys all, meaning somebody asked about the previous years. But yeah, that's funny.
I mean, Jose is a
him.
cornerstone. They've got to lock him up long term. Jose coming from nowhere a few years ago, and now he's an absolute staple for this franchise, for the city of Cleveland, for the Indians organization. Oh, wait, sorry. The Guardians organization, because we can't call them the Indians anymore.
Not yet.
That ended.
Yeah, we can. Right now, until that name's changed.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to get used to it. I'm still trying to get used to that Guardians name. But yes, the end of an era. The Indians finish their season, change the name next year. Oh man, that's going to take some getting used to. I love what Tom Hamilton had to say after the last out in Texas, basically telling the fans that just because the name changed doesn't change the fact that Cleveland has a franchise. Yeah. So many cities are clamoring for a Major League Baseball team, and we in Cleveland have a team. And we should celebrate the fact that we have a team and continue to celebrate this franchise. We're going to start new memories. We're going to have all of these things. I absolutely applaud Tom Hamilton for what he said. If you haven't listened to it, I shared it on our Twitter account. I've shared it on our Facebook page. Just go listen to it. It's a couple-minute clip, but I mean, Tom Hamilton hit it right on the head. Let's get excited. Let's focus on 2022. Like 2021 wasn't great for the Indians. Injuries crushed this team. And it shows that doesn't matter how much depth you have, injuries will hurt your team. And the Indians have been lucky. We hadn't really had that issue for many years where we lost a lot of guys. And it just seemed like dominoes, they just continued to fall. And so there you go. That's my take on it.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk a little bit here in a minute about the future before we get into some other stuff. But something real quick here, Mike. I wanted to talk about just a couple tidbits I saw on Twitter. I was like seeing some of the stuff on Twitter, and this was actually Kel on Twitter. Sorry, I can't. My eyes getting older. It's Kel Kill One. He actually heard this from Andre Knott. Okay. So this is the first time in Indians franchise history that they won't have a pitcher with a complete game. First time in history. That's crazy.
That's an unbelievable stat.
Yeah. A history. Wow. I mean, this franchise been what since 1900? Should have done my homework.
I think it was 1919. I think. Hold on. Let me look.
So that is something else. That just shows how good this pitching in this organization has always been, and currently is. So that was something pretty cool.
So the Indians originated in 1901.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh yeah, I said something.
Yeah, 1901 to 2021, 121 seasons.
And they've had a pitch a complete game in every single year.
In 1915, the Indians took the name Indians.
Okay, so so technically take 14 years off there, but something else. Speaking of pitching,
Yeah.
This is from TJ Zupi. He says on Twitter, I know reliever ERA, but Clase ends the year at 1.29. Lowest for Cleveland reliever since who, Mike?
Andrew Miller.
No, longer than that. Popular guy. Well, he's not. He's popular, but good and bad ways.
Paul Ossenmacher.
No, Jose Mesa.
Oh, Joe Table.
Jose Mesa.
Joe
In
Table.
1995, he had a 1.13. And
Wow.
I think what's his? And he says, and I believe second lowest ERA for a Cleveland reliever with at least 60 innings pitched.
Hey, I'll tell you what.
He's like a rookie, man. He's a young guy.
Well, that's what they said. That Clase should actually be in the running for American League Rookie of the Year.
For sure.
So we'll see how that goes. I mean, he turned his season around. He blew a couple of games and they took him out of the closer's role. Then they put him back in and he was bounced around a lot, but he showed that he's the future, man. I mean, he lights out 102 mile an hour cutter and 90 mile an hour slider.
Yeah.
I mean, 100 mile an hour fastball. Like, this guy is going to be insane. And I'm glad we don't have to face him. We can just call him from the bullpen and have him come in and shut down games. So that'll be great.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Hey, let's just take a break real quick. And then when we get back, let's just kind of talk about some things. I mean, we're not getting too in depth or detail about next season, but just some of our thoughts. Hey, heading in the offseason, what maybe do we expect or look, what's the outlook looking for this new team?
I like it.
So, all right, we'll be right back.
Hey everybody, I'm Gary.
And I'm Jason. Opening cards as a kid, no matter what was in the pack, you always had that stick of chewing gum. Well, it turns out Gary and I opened up a box of 86 Tops last year, and let me tell you, the chewing gum does not age well.
Join us on the Ball Card Show,
the sports podcast for the sports collector.
Hi, my name's Jeremy Powell, co-host of the Oranges, Oranger, Browns podcast. Check us out anywhere you listen to podcasts. For all your Browns coverage, post-game, pre-game, anything you need Browns, you'll find it here on the Oranges, Oranger, Browns podcast.
For the Dennis Maniloff Show, I'll tap into my 40-plus years of following Cleveland sports and 30-plus years of writing and talking about them, so as to bring you informed opinions and analysis of your favorite players and teams. I also will monitor the national sports scene and, when warranted, step out of the toy department and into the real world. And I'll always be on the lookout for special guests. By all means, join us.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Want to hear more about your favorite TV shows and movies that are on countless streaming services?
Then listen to Up Next with your new favorite hosts, me, Kristen Aviles,
and me, Christina Walter.
Every other week, we'll highlight one genre, but 2 movies or TV shows, one old and one new.
We'll let you know what's hot and what's not from your favorite
or least favorite
streaming services.
And be sure to stay tuned to the end of each episode where we shout out an artist whose name you should know for their talent in the industry.
So follow us to stay up to date with your favorite hosts from Up Next,
a part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hi, my name is Sam Post, owner of Phenomenal CBD Store and PhenomenalCBD.com. That's like phenomenal, CBD.com. Tune in where we talk with experts about how the amazing hemp plant can make a difference for people's health and well-being from the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Books like Stephen King's The Shining or Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. If If you're on the hunt for book recommendations and enjoy sparkling conversation, come read along with us and then listen in.
Hey, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. I created this podcast to have hard conversations. Conversations that make us human but are also wildly uncomfortable. Conversations that help give voice to the voiceless and to the marginalized. Now you can listen to the entire first season on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Consider this your personal invitation to join the conversation.
Hello, this is Don Mike Mendoza, the host of the Producing While Asian podcast. Join us to listen in on conversations with everyone who identify from producers to non-producers who all are part of the AAPI community. There's all that and more on the Producing While Asian podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network.
All right, Mike, we are back. And actually, before we start talking about what to look for next year, let's just take a few minutes here to talk about some unfortunate news that just happened recently.
Yeah.
You want to talk about it here first?
Yeah, a little bit. So our condolences. If for those that didn't know, Cleveland sports writer Matt Loede, he passed away about a week and a half ago. Had been battling cancer for a long time. He was all over Twitter. He was a freelance writer, so we got to see a lot of different articles, and he did love to write about the Indians. And obviously he was a man of faith, and just unfortunate that he passed away. I think I texted you, Brent, when I got the news. I was absolutely shocked. I never met Matt personally. I know we exchanged a few messages here and there on Twitter. I'd comment on stuff, and but just an incredible man, just absolutely through all the trials, through everything that he went through, he always kept his faith number one, was very outspoken about his faith, and he's going to be missed, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's something I admire about him. Like you said, through the struggles, kept his faith first and stuff like that. And he documented a lot. He documented his journey to help others. I felt like I knew him.
Yeah.
It's not so like I knew him as a writer, obviously number one. But then like ever since his cancer diagnosis, I think in 2019, that you've seen him like share and be transparent and vulnerable. And like that kind of stuck with me. That really like helped me like, okay, he's not hiding behind this. Like he's talking about not just like most social media, you see so many people talk about all this stuff that's going on. So you see happy stuff more often, and you're seeing, him talking about his life and how it's not right now, and still staying content, still grinding away, not giving up, and having hope and that faith, and it was just really encouraging to see that story. So it's absolutely terrible. I think he was 46. Goodness gracious, and so definitely praying for his family, his friends, all his loved ones. And that's a tough thing, but it was an awesome writer. Seeing all these other media people come out and say the stuff they're saying about him is like, oh my goodness, like what we see on Twitter and what we've seen is like exactly how he lived his life and how other people thought of him.
Yeah, what I loved is Sam Amico, who also belongs to our Press Play Podcast Network. He does the Cavs on the Break. He was very close with Matt.
Yeah.
And he wrote a beautiful article that I've now read multiple times. That's how good I thought it was. And he touched a lot of lives. So I couldn't agree more, like praying for his wife and just his family, his friends. Like he will definitely be missed. He was an icon for Cleveland. And
absolutely, man. Couldn't agree with you more. There's no easy transition from that. There's no easy way to make it. So let's just kind of wrap up our show talking a little bit tonight about, let's just talk about some positive things looking to the future. I don't want to be all negative about the Indians. We've talked about that stuff all year long. So let's talk about some positives that we think might happen next season or in the offseason.
Well, hold on. Before we go there, let's start with some positive news. Okay. Let's change the tone a little bit.
That's what I just said.
Shout out to the Akron Rubber Ducks. For those that don't know, the Rubber Ducks are the Cleveland Indians AA minor league baseball team. Congratulations to them. They won this year's Eastern League Championship after almost not making the playoffs to begin with. It was an epic journey and even a more epic battle. The way that AA does it, the top two teams, regardless of which league they're in, regardless of which division they're in, they make the playoffs and battle it out for the championship. It came down to the last game where Akron was trailing 5-0 going into I think it was the bottom of the 8th inning. They walked it off to win and secure the number 1 seed. They then traveled to Bowie, who was the team that finished second, beat him in game 1, beat him in game 2. Game 3 was in Canal Park in Akron. And guess what? The Rubber Ducks, trailing 5-0 in the bottom of the 8th inning, came back to tie it, and they walked it off in the bottom of the 9th, bringing home a championship to Akron and to the Indians organization. So a round of applause, Mr. Spillin, for the Akron Rubber Ducks. How's that for some positive news?
Yeah, well, that's what I just said. You're not listening? I said, let's talk positive. And then you said, how about we talk positive? That's like, yeah.
I know. I had to repeat it. It was so important.
Okay, good. Okay, I got you. No,
so
man.
Shout out to the Rubber Ducks, man. That's awesome. Support
right.
minor league baseball. Go
awesome.
watch it.
I went to a game about a month ago. I think I already talked about another episode. Watch them pitch almost a team no hitter, 8 2/3, and then they lost it.
Yeah,
1 out. But man, they shut out. Can't remember who they played, but anyways, yeah, that's awesome, man. Accomplishment like there. It just shows, that farm team. We got that depth coming up, man. They are coming soon. They are coming, these guys.
What a great transition, Brent, because that leads into the offseason for our Cleveland Indians / Cleveland Guardians.
That's still so weird to me, to be honest.
I know, right?
I think all of us are thinking that. We're going to screw up, and we're going to say the Indians so many times next year. We're going to catch ourselves like Washington football team, like the same thing, and like.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's weird, but yeah, let's talk about some positive things here.
So obviously, as long as we're healthy, the Indians still have the best starting rotation in all of baseball.
Ooh.
A healthy Shane Bieber.
Bold.
A healthy Aaron Savali. Zach Plesac. Cal Quantrill. And Tristan McKenzie.
Yeah,
I would put those 5 up against anybody.
Yeah, I know.
I really would.
Yeah, I know Tristan McKenzie. Remember, he had that outstanding game of like the 8 strikeouts in a row, and then he started pitching really well. But we've talked about him a lot, but I think this is going to be a great offseason for him. Finally, he's on the major league roster. That's where he's going to start the year. He doesn't go up, down. Like he struggled the last couple of games towards the end of this season. Who knows? He's a young guy, not used to that many innings pitched probably. And it's just mentally, it's probably hard when you're down the stretch there, when you're not going to make the playoffs. But anyways, I think they're going to work with him, and I think he's going to be really strong and ready to go heading into spring training and the start of next season.
Yeah, I think so. Another bright spot. We said Emmanuel Clase finished the year with a 1.3 earn run average, just insane. I think we have found our closer.
For sure.
Shout out to the Indians reliever Brian Shaw, not the other Brian Shaw, but the reliever Brian Shaw. He now holds the Indians record for innings pitched, or I believe innings played.
Relief appearances, I believe.
Yeah. So shout out to Mr. Shaw. Well done. The Indians need to find some bullpen help, I think. That would be an area of concern for me in the offseason.
Yeah,
I think you're going to need to find an arm or two.
Hey, I really want to take a look at Anthony. Is it Goss or Ghost?
Goss, I think, is how it's pronounced.
Yeah. Oh, man, he was looking good towards the end of the season.
For those that don't know, Anthony Goss was an outfielder in the major leagues. Had a few cups of coffee in the major leagues, then left and decided to come back to baseball as a reliever.
That's like 5 years off or something like that?
Yeah, and the Indians took a flyer on him. The guy is a left-handed pitcher hitting 100 miles an hour.
Insane.
With his fastball. He got his control figured out. I know that was one worry they had last year, but he seemed to have figured out. I think he's our lefty out of the bullpen. I really liked what I saw in the few games that he played.
Yeah,
we'll see if they bring him in. I'm interested. Yeah. I know the Indians have a lot of decisions to make. We've got a 40-man roster. We've got a lot of young talent that's not on the 40-man roster that they don't want to leave up in the air for the Rule 5 draft. That's when other teams can pluck prospects and guys that aren't protected or not on the 40-man roster. So the Indians have a lot of decisions to make. But I'm going to tell you this, Brent. We have a starting center fielder in Miles Straw.
Yeah.
I said it earlier in the show.
I think that's the only thing you can rely on the outfield right now.
I think yes, I'll give you that. I think center field locked down.
Yeah.
I think third base is locked down with Jose Ramirez. I think shortstop is locked down with Ahmed Rosario after the season he had this year. I think
he needs to get better at his defense, though.
You're right, but it kind of comes with the territory. I think he's going to make some errors, but he can hit. He played well. Yes.
So many young infielders coming up, though. That's why it's tricky.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what the Indians do. And also, don't forget, they tried him out in the outfield. So they could potentially throw him back in the outfield if that's an area of need. Who knows? I think second base is a question mark. I honestly think first base is a question mark. I like Bobby Bradley, but I don't think he's the full-time answer at first base. I don't.
Yeah.
Catcher is an area of need. I don't think
Berto might be gone, man.
I don't think the Indians are going to pick up his option.
Yeah,
I don't.
He might be coming back.
$10 million, I think, is what that option will be.
Oh, I love Berto, though.
And if they can get him back on a cheap deal and he can stay healthy, we'll see. We need a catcher that can hit. Austin Hedges, I mean, great personality, great clubhouse guy, but I think he hit like $189 this year.
Yeah.
That's not good. Wilson Ramos, they called him up. I mean, he showed signs of brilliancy on the offensive side, but then he tears his ACL and goes on the shelf. So I think, catcher is an area of need. The outfield, the Indians are going to have to figure some stuff out. Does Josh Naylor come back and play first base? Does he go back to the outfield? What do you do with Bradley Zimmer, Oscar Mercado, Harold Ramirez?
I don't think any of those guys will be back. You just mentioned.
I don't know. I think Zimmer might be.
Maybe Mercado. I don't know.
Mercado, though, I don't. He didn't really do enough to impress me to where I think he should be here. Ramirez was great, but his defense is terrible. So Fran Mill's our DH. We know that.
Yeah.
I mean, do they put him in the outfield and maybe find a DH?
No.
I don't know. Do we get Tito back next year?
Yes.
You think
he came
so?
out actually today. He came out, or there's reports today saying he's confident he'll be back next year.
And the city will love to have him. Trust me. Not saying negatively about DeMarco Hale, but he's not the guy for the job. He did as a fill-in.
It would have been tough for anybody to take over.
Oh, of course.
You know?
I know that they talked every day. I guarantee he talked to Tito every day and they helped. But there's certain things like in-game situations that Tito knows how to handle that DeMarco Hale didn't, and that'll show. But what about you, B-Spills? I've said it. I think they need to get some bullpen help. We've got to solidify this team. We had too many moving parts this year. We've got to lock down the outfield. We've got to find a second baseman, a first baseman, and a catcher. So about half the team needs help.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, I don't think I can even I'm not going to sit here and break down every position. You kind of did that right there. I'm confident in this team. You know, obviously health is always a concern for any team in any sport every year. But I just hope our top end guys, especially our starting pitchers, just, can stay healthy. But so we know we're going to be good just with that. The bullpen, we got a closer, so we're good there. We got some guys there. Like I said, we have a bunch of guys. I am excited to see spring training, to see all these young guys that are going to get invited to camp and watch them play. Like, I'm just curious to see how it plays out. I think the payroll is going to go up. Do I know how much? Nope. But
I think the Major League Baseball has said $100 million is the lowest a team can go.
Is that official though yet?
That is about 90%. That'll be something they talk about in the winter meetings, as well as do they do the universal DH going forward for both the American League and National League. Did we talk about Todd Van Berkeley getting fired as the team's hitting coach?
Oh, real quick, Mike, I just wanted to wrap up what I was thinking here.
Yeah.
So if that case, the payroll would have to go up. But I think even without that, this payroll is going to go up no matter what. You're literally rebranding an entire new team. So like you have to do something. You have to get people excited. I mean,
you got to come out swinging.
Yeah, I don't think just changing the name alone. I mean, it's exciting in a sense. It's new, it's fresh, it's new gear, all this stuff. Everything's going to look different. But to really get it, you got to spend some money to get people excited for this team. So I think no matter what happens with, the salary cap stuff, it's going to be higher. I mean, COVID, obviously there was fans allowed. Obviously not many fans. That's just kind of how it is here in Cleveland with this team. But I think they're going to, so they made more money. So we'll see. It's definitely going to.
I couldn't agree more, Brent. I think this team is going to have to make some splashes in free agency. So it'll be interesting. And who knows, we'll be back. We may do an episode here this winter to talk about some stuff with the Indians and the Guardians going forward, and we'll see. But the 2021 season has come to an end for the Indians. Who do you like in the World Series, B-Spills? I'm putting you on the spot. Who do you like?
Man, I was going to say Dodgers again, but then hearing Clayton Kershaw's out.
Yep.
Oh, man. I don't know. Let's say Dodgers Tampa.
You want a rematch?
I'm not saying I want it.
Year?
I'm not saying I want it.
Okay.
I'm just saying I think that's what's going to happen.
All right, I'm picking an underdog. The Milwaukee Brewers.
Okay.
I think they beat the White Sox in the World Series.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I guess we'll see. I'll be tuned into that. It's not the same. At least like I don't have this feeling with the Indians. It's like, okay, they're done. I can like just relax now. Stressing over what's going to happen with this team. I wanted them to hit 500 so bad. I didn't want them to go under, but they did. We move on. And real quick, Mike, before we go, you were going to say a comment about some news from the Indians today.
Yeah. So Todd Van Berkeley, Cleveland Indians hitting coach, has been fired. He will not be back for 2022. So the Indians now looking for a hitting coach after this team finished very dismally offensively. I think it's a long time coming. I thought he should have been fired last year, but I think because of COVID, they held on to him to see if maybe they'd bounce back, but no. So he gone.
Interesting. So more changes coming, not just the team name.
No.
Bunch of turnover. So we will see. But Mike, hey man, what an awesome season. Let's hopefully we can get on here soon and do this again and talk some more Indians. Well, it'll probably be Guardians, but
yeah.
Hey, as always, love chatting with you, catching up. Too bad the season didn't turn out exactly how we hoped, but at least I got to see your face every time we recorded. Nothing's better than that. Nothing's better than that.
That hit me right in the feels, B-Spills. Thank you.
And Brian Shaw, we had him on. I want to give a shout out to him too. Love seeing his face too.
He's our stat guy. He is the Swinging a Tribe MLB podcast statistician. So yeah, absolutely, Brent. Couldn't say it better. I enjoyed the season doing it with you, bud. Just like always.
Yeah.
You figure this is year 3 for us, and
it was a blast, man.
Couldn't imagine anybody else as my co-pilot than you, brother.
Appreciate it. And thank you so much to everybody who listens to us. Man, some of you listen every single episode, and we know that's hard to do. And we know we don't have episodes every single day or every other day. We just can't do that. But we really do appreciate everybody listening, because you're probably hopefully you're just like us. You probably are. We're just fans, just talking. You know what I mean? You hopefully, you liked what I said and didn't like what Mike said. And
or vice
just
versa.
Kidding.
Or
but I know you all,
versa.
but I do know everyone who's listening would stay awake for Rajai Davis home run in the World Series. Probably that home run. They probably stayed awake. In any playoff game, they stay awake.
Did.
Sorry, I had to get it in, Mike. I had to get it in.
They probably did. And that is something, Brent, that I will take every time, because it was a mistake. I made it. Had they won, it would have been even worse.
Oh, yeah.
But,
I wish they would have, though.
Shout out to you for continuing to stab me every chance you get with that.
I love you, bro.
I appreciate it. I know. I love you too, bro.
Hey,
all
good
right. That's it. That's a wrap, baby. That's
good
a wrap.
talking to you. It's a wrap, baby. Hey, we'll see everybody later. Take care.
Absolutely. Good night.
Night.
Who keeps you cheering year after year? Who's got the ballpark? The best is all right here. Who's got the fans with so much Cleveland pride? Who's talking baseball? Talking try.